Hello, AP Lit scholars. Congratulations, you've just finished an essay for my class and you're about to receive it back with some feedback. I provide really detailed feedback on your writing so that you consider your strengths, consider your areas of improvement, and learn to make purposeful revisions that will make you a stronger writer. You probably have some habits as a writer, both good ones and not so good ones, and it's our job together to co-investigate how to make you better as an AP writer and really as a college-ready writer. So here's this webinar to help you go through your revisions point by point and use them to make purposeful change to make your essays better. This video will explain my expectations for how to take the feedback you've received from me and turn that feedback into purposeful revisions that will significantly improve your writing. Significantly. And yes, you all have room for improvement. So it's my expectation that you're going to come back to this video over and over again every time you have an essay that needs revisions to remember the expectations. So, step 1, you're going to need to open your essay in Microsoft Word. If you don't have Microsoft Word on your home computer, head to the computer lab at school, go to the library, go to a friend's house, and generally join the 21st century college-ready writers. So in this case, I'm going to open my fake sample essay for screencast feedback. Thank you, Daisy Buchanan, for writing this essay for us. What you'll make sure of when you have the document open is you want to go to the review tab up there at the top and check to make sure that it is set to review all markup. That way it'll show all of the changes that I've proposed on your page. If it's set to no markup or simple markup, you won't see the suggestions that I've made. So you'll set it to all markup. There are two types of revision feedback from me that you'll need to consider. The first is feedback that I've made using comment boxes. These comment boxes are off to the side. You see them here. When you go through your document and see these comment boxes, you'll need to pause and read the comment. I use the comment boxes for 3 reasons, one of which is to say good things, like, hey, your thesis statement is sound. Good work, you. Another reason I use comment boxes is to show you some sort of grammar or formatting skill that you need to pay attention to from here on out. So, if you see this kind of a comment in the box, you should think about the rule that I've pointed out, make the change I've suggested in that part of the essay, and then go through the rest of the essay to check for other similar errors to fix. What I mean by that is that I want you to go through the essay and apply what you have just learned from that comment box to the rest of the essay. In this particular essay, this student was using the space bar and spacing 5 times at the beginning of a paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather than using the indent key. So I've made a comment for formatting's sake that this student should not use the space bar, but instead should use the indent function on every paragraph. So what that looks like to apply is to apply it here. I'm going to go to the beginning of my paragraph and press the indent, or PS, that means tab, key at the beginning of that paragraph. And then a strong AP scholar following that comment would go through the rest of the paragraphs and make sure that instead of the 5 spaces, they have used the tab or indent key. So I see this comment back here. I'm going to read it one more time. Okay, I want to use the indent function instead of the space bar. Okay, check. Once you are satisfied that you've really gone through the whole essay and made that change, then you can go ahead and delete that comment. There are 2 ways you can do that. The first is to put your cursor over the comment, right-click, and head up to delete comment. The other way to do that is to go up here to the review tab again, to the delete, and you can say you want to delete this comment, not all the comments in the document. I see another comment box here is another example. This student was making incorrect MLA citations. So what I say here is, here's what an MLA citation is supposed to look like, by which I mean I've actually taken the student's essay and made the change for him or her. Here I have more explanation. Oh, here's what this is supposed to look like. I've got my quotes, and then a parentheses, page number, parentheses, period. I tell the student you don't need to use the word page and you want to put the period outside of the parentheses. Then I tell the student, please change all the rest of your citations in the paper to match this one. So I've given them an example for what to do here. This is what a citation looks like. And a strong student, using the comment boxes that I have given them, will now go through the rest of the essay. Oh, here's an example. And make the change. Go back up to my feedback. This is what a citation is supposed to look like. I'm going to delete the word page. I'm going to delete the period, and I'm going to put the period outside of the parentheses. I will repeat that through the whole entire essay to make sure that I'm making that change. Hopefully also, as you're making these many changes to the formatting of something small like citations or grammar rules, you will also be really remembering what I've told you, and that it'll be sticky and you won't make this mistake next time around. Rule of thumb, every so often, save what you're working on. You can hit Control S, which is what I tend to do. It's fast. You can also go up to File, Save. You just want to make sure that you're saving the changes you make. So, like I said, there are 3 purposes for a comment box. 1, hey, you did something good. 2, hey, here's a formatting or grammar rule that you need to change. And since I fixed this one, I'll delete the comment. The third purpose and final purpose for comment boxes is to point out a big rock that I've suggested for your essay. A big rock is a comment about a really big part of an essay, like your evidence or your analysis. So I might write a comment that your essay needs better evidence or more evidence, or you have to deepen your character analysis. In these instances, making a revision means spending time thinking first about what your essay is conveying, and then really making purposeful changes based on my advice for making it stronger. These comments are not a quick fix, like I can go through and put the period in a different place or delete the word page and I'm done. You really have to think about these comments to make your essays better. Merely adding an extra quote or adding an extra sentence about character is not thinking about making your essay better. So, here's an example. I told this student to dig in more, and I asked the question, what's the man's motivation for wanting said abortion? Then I give her a hint. The text tells us. Why does he want to convince her to have an abortion? So what I've noticed in this essay paragraph as a whole is that this paragraph is talking about how the couple is talking in circles and euphemizing what's really happening to make things seem less scary or less severe. And then, in the ending of this paragraph, the student writes that the man is unwilling to be blunt and he's sugarcoating things, which proves that he is manipulative. All of these things are true in the story Hills Like White Elephants, but I think there's something else going on here too. It's not just that he wants her to do what he wants her to do. There's something else going on. So a true AP scholar would actually return to the text at this point. That was the wrong folder. I meant to open this one. I'm going to return to the text. I'm going to open Hills Like White Elephants. Whoops, that's not where it is. JK. Look, here are all of my amazing materials that I make for your class. Here we go. I might return to the text itself and really scour it again to think about why it is that the man is being so manipulative and so trying to convince the girl to do what he wants to do. Once I've returned to the text, really thought about it again, I might pull out some more evidence, and I would probably then think about how to apply that back to my essay. I would definitely add some sentences of analysis. and go from there. Only when I'm satisfied as a writer that I've really paid attention to my teacher's advice to consider character motivation more deeply, then and only then will I delete that comment. Comments like these are meant to take your essay, probably which is at a 4 or maybe a 5 or even a 6, and tip it more to a 6, 7, 8. So you're really going to want to pay attention to those. The second type of feedback I provide through Microsoft Word in your essay are places that I have actually already gone ahead and made changes in your essay for you. Sometimes it's easier for me to show you what stronger writing can and should look like than it is to write that out in a comment. You'll know that I've made a revision in a particular line because you'll see a bar on the left-hand side of that line, like this. And you'll notice that in this particular essay, I've made comments a bunch of lines in a row or changes, so that's where you see this. But if I come up here to this line, the first line in the essay, I've made no changes because there's nothing that appears on the left-hand side of the page. So you want to scour the lines for changes that I've made. Microsoft Word strikes through the writing of yours that I delete with this red strike through, and the text appears in red. And if I've added something, like way down here, you see that I've added a hyphen, that also appears in red. In a case where you're previewing the changes that I have made on your behalf, you need to do a couple of things, starting with reading and thinking about what you originally had written on the page, and then thinking about the change that I've made. When you're satisfied that you understand what this change is and why I've made it, you'll highlight that very small section of text, like life changing as a phrase needs to have a hyphen. So, okay, I'm thinking about this. Okay, I needed a hyphen in life changing. That's a pretty small one. You're gonna highlight over that part of the text that I've made the suggested change for, head on up to the review tab again, go over to accept, and tell it that you want to accept this change. That will take this tiny micro moment of the text and say, yep, okay, I'm ready. And you'll notice that when you do that, the red text disappears and what's left is black and finalized. You want to do this for all the sections of your essay. Here's another example. The original writing of this sentence in this student's essay, I thought was a little bit too general and trying to be specific in a way that wasn't helpful. So this student's writing said, for decades, abortion has been viewed as very controversial, especially in the ages such as the 1920s. That seems a little bit repetitive to me, and I think you don't actually need all of this. I think it would be much simpler and still accurate to just say abortion has always been controversial, period. That's the suggestion I would make for this. So when this student has really internalized how this works, they would go through and highlight that whole sentence. They would then go up to the accept and say, accept this change. I understand that this is simpler. You might need to, of course, make a minor tweak here and there. You'll notice that when I made this change here, it still showed up in red for me to add a space. That's because I have my track changes function on. So every change I make to the essay, it's going to highlight that in red. Since I'm now responsible for my own writing, I'm actually going to want to make sure that the track changes is turned off. So now when I accept this space, there's a space here, and you'll notice that if I start to make more spaces, it's not being tracked any longer. So this student will need to go through all of the places where the red text happens, probably one sentence at a time. Think about the changes that I've suggested in that sentence and then accept them. Now, of course, you are also welcome to say, Mrs. Schisler, what are you talking about? My phrase was better than yours, or it really should be a semicolon and not a colon. Good luck to you on that one. In which case, if you think that your original writing was better or more correct, you would highlight and then reject the change that has been suggested for you. This is what you should look for when revising your essay.